Om Shanti.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Ask the Author. Today I am joined by Miriam Thiel-Alberts from Germany. Hello there.
Hello, thank you very much for inviting me and looking forward to talking to you today, Andrea.
And I am looking forward to talking to you because the beautiful story that you share in this book, Talking to Golden Arrow, is so full of magic. And you know what I love about your story, Miriam, is, well, this whole book is really to help us all reconnect to a sense of magic in our lives. But for me, I've always loved the idea of a happily ever after. You know, I'm one of those people who watches a movie, they'll just like expecting there to be a happy ending because, you know, sometimes in life there aren't. But your story really is this beautiful transformational tale of you getting your own personal healing, you connecting with souls. I'll leave it at that until we have our conversation. But it's just so beautiful to me. And I think it just gives us all such hope that there is magic and a happily ever after in our future.
Well, this is what I believe from a very early age on as well, that there is magic and there is a prince waiting for me on a white horse. And, you know, as you know, in my story, I did get the white horse before the prince. But what was holding me back when I was little was that, you know, I was reading all the stories about how this magic could happen and how these sort of fairy tales were ending. But I actually didn't believe that would be possible for myself. I grew up in a family with a lot of, emotional dysfunctionality, I would say. And I didn't feel that I was good enough to have that sort of fairy tale treatment, that princess treatment. I wanted to be a princess, but I actually didn't know at that time how to become one. Mm-hmm. And so connecting to my animal, to my horse, helped me sort of finding out that I am a princess inside.
Yeah.
I have that magic.
I love it because you and I share, you know, a lot in common in that, besides being animal lovers, we both have had experiences in our lives where we felt like we needed to do things externally to get approval or to get affection or to get that love. And, you know, I think the story that you tell about how you shared with your mom that you wanted to be a princess, and she's like, but you weren't born a princess. You know, she was very technical, like you have to be born in a royal family. But you're like, wait, I don't get to have my magic. And so this idea that you're not good enough, that you didn't get born with the right circumstances, that you always had to go out and achieve, that was something that influenced most all of your life, right? Your early adulthood.
Yes. No, this actually, it was for a long time because that was my coping mechanism because I learned, you know, it wasn't that you were just born with everything. You had to acquire everything so that people would like you. And so for me, it was very much like, my coping mechanism was doing things, you know, living in New York when I was quite young, you know, becoming a stewardess and flying all over the world and, you know, becoming a writer, you know, going to film school. So it was always something that I felt I needed to acquire something, to be interesting, to be good enough, to be lovable.
Yeah.
And, you can't go through life like that. I couldn't, because after 12 years of running around the world, flying around the world, I was tired. Yeah. I was so tired. I was like, if I don't stop this now, I'm just going to fall over, you know. So the coping mechanism worked for a while and, you know, worked to keep me going. It didn't work in a way that I was able to really connect with people on that sort of soul level because I was too busy doing.
Yeah.
I wasn't being.
Yeah.
So.
And as you transitioned out of, you know, working, you had this opportunity to take care of some horses. And as you share in your chapter of the book, you talk about how there was this connection. So talk to me about the way that you have connected with animals, and specifically how you came to acquire Golden Arrow.
I'm just thinking where to start. I was living in Denmark, and I was working at a film school there as a lecturer, and I kind of, because I was very lonely at that time, it was very isolated. I didn't have any friends up there, and I started horseback riding again. And I remembered that I had this wish to have my own horse. I think everybody that rides horses wants to have their own horse at one point. And so I started looking for horses, and I saw Golden Arrow. I went to see him, and I thought, I'm not going to buy this horse. He is wild. He is too expensive for a wild horse. Nobody could ride him, you know. It was a sort of a viewing of the horse without any actually knowing if he could, you know, if he could walk. And so I said, I'm not going to buy him. And a week later, the woman, the previous owner, rang me back, and she said, I want to give you Golden Arrow for free. And I don't know what that was. Something made bing in my head, and I was like, yes. Beforehand, it was 3,000 euros that she wanted for the horse, and I was like, no. And when she said, I'm going to give you the horse, it was sort of, there was an instant yes. And it wasn't about the money. It was about the, yes, I can take you on. And I think in hindsight, I thought about this, what had changed. You know, it wasn't the money, but what had changed was that taking a horse in for free, I didn't have any expectations. If I would have paid 3,000, 2,000 euros, whatever, I would have had the expectation to have a working horse.
Yeah.
And so I said, yes, I take on this horse. And this is how, and I wasn't a horse trainer. I'm still not a horse trainer.
And so you're taking on a wild horse that if you were judging it by just seeing it, you're like, it's wild. No one else has been able to tame it. I'm not even a horse trainer. So no. And then,
Right.
yeah, so lowering those expectations or letting go of all expectations, you were able to say yes. But how did you eventually make this deep connection with Golden Arrow?
Well, because I wasn't a horse trainer, and I knew that I was an intermediate rider, you know, I knew that I had to get help. So the first thing is to get like a trainer involved. And of course I did that. And then I thought, what can I do? You know, what can I do to support the bonding, our being together? And I had met Charlotte before, and she had told me about being an animal communicator. And then I thought, okay, I can do this. I can learn how to become an animal communicator. I can learn how to be a healer. I can learn about the Bach flowers. So these are the things that I was doing to help us get closer, because I didn't know where to start. So, yeah, and so I gave him healing. I communicated with him. I was just being with him. I gave him Bach flowers. So these were, I think the main thing that changed it was I was being with him. You know, I was just there.
Yeah. And that's one of the things you say, that you really want to help people understand that our animals can be a mentor. They can be our coach. They can even be our therapist. And, you know, I have a dog, and I've always loved dogs because they give that just unconditional love. You know, I could be gone for just 5 minutes, and as soon as I come back, she's so happy to see me. But this idea that you're talking about, that just being present with the animal, you didn't have to be a perfect rider or a trainer or know anything. And it was just your presence that gave you that entrance into that connection, right?
I think what happened was that I made myself available. And like in a relationship, when you start being present and available, you can start dancing together, but you can't do that before you're there. When I wasn't there, when I was in my life running and flying to Hong Kong and back and all that, I was never present. I was always somewhere else. And, you know, with a horse, because they react to everything that's going on, they're very sensitive to sort of, you know, what subconsciously, what you're feeling, what you're thinking. And in this situation, I had to learn, I had to just be. And so looking back, this is not just with the horse, but you can start connecting with other people. You can start connecting to animals, but you need to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't want to give away all of the story, but in your chapter in this book, Magic and Miracles, you talk about how the horse led you to find your prince. But there was an interesting thing about the communication. So was it after you had started studying animal communication that you were able to hear Golden Arrow tell you, I want to be in a film?
Yeah. I had actually, it was quite funny because I had expected something maybe more dramatic or more spiritual or wise.
Right,
And when
right.
my horse told me I want to be in the film, I was actually quite surprised because I didn't think that an animal could be that precise, and telling me this is what I want. And I forgot the questions.
So I'm just thinking it's crazy that all of a sudden you hear your horse say, "Hey, I want to be in a film."
Yeah, I mean, it's actually not that crazy, to be quite honest, because we can all do it. Everybody can connect to the animals and everybody
Okay.
can get messages. I am sure that when you look at your dog, that sometimes you know exactly what the dog wants or maybe what they feel. I mean, they're very expressive. The reason why we don't know, why we don't hear or feel is a lot of times we're kind of putting these shutters on our senses because
Yeah.
otherwise we're getting overload. We're getting
Yeah.
this information overload and sensation overload. And this is something, you know, you need to kind of take those walls down or take the cotton wool out of your ears. And I did that, with meditation, with the animal communication education, where we concentrated on sensing
Yeah.
and feeling. So, and this was the sort of leading up to hearing.
Hmm.
And the thing is, everybody can hear animals as well and sense them. What, sometimes we don't believe that this is true. And there comes the magic again. When we believe in magic, we can hear it. We can hear the animal say something. But sometimes our ego gets so confused and says like, this is not possible. So
Yeah.
this is what you're hearing is not true. So for me, it was sort of connecting with my senses again, but also believing in that and believing in that magic that happens when you connect.
And fortunately, you had in your background, obviously, filmmaking. So you did make a film
Yes.
about talking to Golden Arrow, and it's won awards at film festivals, and it led you to meet your present day prince.
That's correct. Um, yes, it was the nudge that I needed, that my horse says, I want to be in a film. And I went to film school. I trained to be a script writer, and I thought I had made short films before. So I thought, what a lovely idea.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started this development process that, let's make a documentary about horse training and horse whispering and horse, healing and about communication. And what came out was a very personal film about how I had overcome my childhood sort of drama, trauma, um, and led me to where I was, because basically through making the film and through seeing it,
Yeah.
I realized a lot of things. And, this process of, looking at the situation, how it had changed from being a little girl and not knowing how to get to that sort of happily ever after, to somebody who was living it, having the horse, connecting with the horse. And, yes. And when the film was showing or had its premiere in New York at the Horse Film Festival, I met my now husband again because he was living in Los Angeles, and I said, "Do you want to come and meet me in New York?" And
So I think it's wonderful that you got to reconnect with someone that you had known before, lost touch and lost contact with, but somehow Golden Arrow knew to tell you, invite him.
he did, and it was very strange because it just came. We were riding out, and he was kind of um, sending me some signals,
Like
um,
what?
like that he would kind of send me this picture of New York, and I should sort of I would be there with somebody else, and I kind of ignored these things because I had asked me to, make the film. And I thought this was it. This was the final, that was what he wanted. But I actually had to realize that during the filming, he didn't actually enjoy standing in front of the camera. Golden Arrow was afraid of the camera. So it wasn't, some animals love to be in front of the camera, and they make like little tricks and all that. And when he kind of communicated very clearly, invite him, I was surprised because again, this project didn't end. It wasn't about having the film. It wasn't about having the film at the film festival in New York. It was about something completely different. It was about me connecting with my friend and now husband. So yeah.
Well, I think it's beautiful. Well, I don't want to give all of it away. I think people will really enjoy seeing how this process unfolded for you. And I love that now this is, what you're up to in the world. You are helping people learn how to do a whole different writing process, utilizing the soul consciousness of animals and whatnot. So talk to us a little bit about what your work is today and what's your vision for the future.
What my work today is still as a writer, but different from how I was writing before, and the animal communication. And what I learned with the animal communication was that there is so much wisdom. Animals are so happy and ready to help us, to support us, to change our life to the happily ever after, whatever that looks like for you, whatever you would like your life to look like. And so instead of asking animals, would you rather have apples or carrots, like horses, or, what kind of snacks do you like? Or do you like this park or that park? I decided to ask them what really matters. And that can be, a question about connection, but it could also be a question about life. How can I get to that point in my life where I always wanted to be? And animals, because animals are in the now, animals don't think about yesterday or tomorrow. Their perception is completely different to ours sometimes when we think what we should do or not should, or, the woulds and coulds. And so I'm the translator in a way. I'm the mediator between animals and humans. So when they come, I sort of treat them as a unit because that's what they are. They're energetically interwoven. So I translate between the two. And the messages that come from the animals, I kind of use as a start in the coaching. When, one horse that I communicated with said to the human, start working on your dreams, start realizing your dreams. And I did, obviously I didn't know what that meant. And I said, is there something that you really, really want to do? And she said, yes, I want to write. And so that was the start of a coaching or communication I had, with her. And the horse being very, very precise on what he wanted her to do. He wanted her to write and come back and read it to him. So these messages can not only bring the prince into your life sometimes, but it can also change things about, she started writing. Mm-hmm. She started writing because her horse wanted to listen to the story. So,
it makes me wonder then, we're talking about magic and miracles. We're talking about how this world of what we see is only one aspect of our lives. There are these invisible connections. We're connected to souls that I believe are brought into our lives, not by coincidence. So it seems like each of these animals are almost attracted into our lives to be part of our life journey. And, as a doctor and a therapist, I am very used to hearing about, equine therapies, so people working with horses. But do you think that we can get the same sort of healing and guidance from other animals besides horses?
Yes. That was the short answer. Yes. I believe that you can connect and you can get those messages with anything that's living around us. It could be nature, it could be wild animals, and it could be domestic animals. It could be a horse, a dog, a cat. And I got messages from birds as well, wild birds. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, we are all energy, and everything around us is energy. So connecting to another energy field, it doesn't matter what that energy field is. If we classify that as a dog, a cat, a bird, or a horse. So I believe there's healing in connecting. And
well, it makes sense to me. Many of us have heard of having an animal totem, or getting symbology from crossing the path of certain animals. So I love this idea that we can start to develop our senses to really hear just beyond just symbols, symbolic meanings of certain animals, but to actually, let them talk to us in certain ways. I love it. I love it. And I also love that on Facebook, you will do sort of these mini animal readings for free. So I would invite everyone to check out Miriam's website, animalhealer.net, or look up Animal Wisdom with Miriam's name, and you'll find her Facebook group, which you can join for free. Well, Miriam, I love, love, love the story about talking to Golden Arrow. And once again, I'm so grateful that you agreed to share this with the world in this new book, Magic and Miracles. I think so many people are going to find that these magical connections are things that sometimes we just overlook.
Thank you so much. And yes, maybe I can bring a little bit of the magic to the world and remind people that magic is there. Yeah. You just need to sort of let it in and listen to the magic around you, because we're all surrounded by magic, and especially the people that have animals around them.
Yes.
There's a lot of magic going on there.
Indeed. Well, once again, my friends, I hope that you will connect with Miriam Thiel-Alberts, who has shared her story, talking to Golden Arrow, in our new book, Magic and Miracles. Thank you once again, and I look forward to connecting with you in person very soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Did you enjoy that interview? I sincerely hope so. If you did, remember to click that like button and share this video with someone else who needs a little positivity sprinkled into their life. And please do support the author by purchasing the book at your favorite bookstore. If you or somebody you know would like to spread your own message to the world, then check out our publishing options online at makeyourmarkglobal.com. We specialize in helping healers, coaches, lightworkers, and other soulful entrepreneurs who want to share their message with a global audience. We also do speaker training and authentic personal branding. I look forward to connecting with you again, and until then, remember, my friend, you are a gift to the world. So share your presence with passion. Much love.